Hey there, super friends. It's Joey with Last Point Gaming. Today is Friday, March 29th, 2019. How y'all doing? It's been a minute. So, let's talk Mythic Invitational Championship thing. Oh, I can't turn yet. Okay. It's actually been pretty cool to tune into, which I'm really happy to see. I've mentioned before how I never really took in much like GP coverage because their style of commentary was just not compatible with what I'm looking for from commentary, I guess. But they've done an amazing job with this invitational. Brian Kibler is really good on the mic. So is that Day 9 guy. Yeah, not really familiar with him. But he's been excellent on the commentary. Always nice to see Paul Cheon. And there's the two ladies that I'm not familiar with. But anyway, they've all been great, so that's pretty awesome. I'm not a big fan of anything about this tournament format, but I have a feeling that's more of the, get off my lawn, this isn't how we do Magic tournaments. Yeah, the kind of traditionalist in me. And the challengers, as opposed to like the MPL players, have been doing incredibly well on this field. And I kind of wonder if part of that isn't that the quote-unquote challengers, this is where they cut their Magic baby teeth. Like, this is how they know how to play Magic, whereas, wow, hey, it's my turn to go. Whereas the, like the Magic Pro players are much more accustomed to the traditional way tournaments are run. That I wonder if that's had an impact on it. And I'm not saying that, like, that takes anything away from the Challenger victories by any means. Magic as an esport is quite a bit different than, you know, the paper Magics. And could be these players came in thinking that they understood how this field worked, and, you know, they really didn't. My check engine light's on my car. That's why I keep getting quiet. I'm sorry. I think it's just that my gas cap wasn't secured tightly enough because she's not acting weird or anything. But I have to take her in for inspection tomorrow anyway, so as soon as I get home tonight, it's the last I'm driving her until I drop it off for inspection. But it's harshing my calm. It's staring at me and mocking me. Anyway, moving right along. Really pleased to see Amy, the Amazonian, make it to the top 16. Also, her badass, completely built out of Magic cards. Is it a costume or is it just a dress? I guess it's like kind of a Watley costume. But whatever it is, it's pretty epic looking. So, yeah, no, it's super exciting. This tournament was way more interesting to tune into than I thought it would be. So, that's pretty awesome. I wonder if I put my other window down. I don't know. I still got to figure out this airflow messing with the mic issue. Hopefully it's not too bad today. Now, there is the unpleasantness surrounding this tournament. But I'm not really going to talk about that until there's more information available. Right now, all that's going around seems to be rumors and conjecture. just from what I've seen. So it seems really irresponsible to say anything about all that nonsense. But hey, Brian David Marshall got to play in this tournament, and that's awesome, because he's awesome. So we're just going to focus on that point. Sad to see Brad Nelson go down. I was hoping to see him make top 16. I think Reed Duke made top 16, which no matter what format you put Magic on, that's just not surprising, because he's Reed motherfucking Duke. Like, pretty sure we all expected that. Huey Jensen was dealt his death blow by Reed Duke, which, I mean, if he's got to fall to somebody, let it be one of his boys, I guess. Yeah, so no, it's super exciting. There were all kinds of pyrotechnics. Somebody said on Twitter, and I wish I could remember who, and I wish I had, like, retweeted the tweet, about how the pyrotechnics keeps making them think of the WWE. So, like, oh, Alexander Haynes gonna shore this up with a Kaya's Wrath. Oh, but here comes Jerry Thompson with the folding chair. And now I can't unsee that, so, like, every time they do the pyrotechnics and everything, I'm like, yeah, hit each other. Though, I gotta say, Piotr, I want to pronounce it correctly, but I don't think I did. In fact, 95% certain I did not. Can you just let me merge? Can you just please let me merge? Merge a little bit? Yeah? Aw, thank you. Piotr? I think that's how you say it. And I'm not even going to try on the last name. That was the final match I caught today. I think it was the final match of the day, but I'm not positive about that. There may have been one more. He got mad style points for the dab he did on his entry into the play area, and he ended up taking down Martin Yuza, which again is sad. I don't follow Martin Yuza, but I don't know, every time I've seen him pop up in my feed because somebody I do follow follows him, he seems like a fine, upstanding gentleman. And, you know, it's always rough seeing, the high-end pro players get beat. But this is kind of a new age of Magic, and this entire tournament, again, it's not structured like a typical Magic tournament. It's not Swiss rounds, it's double elimination, bracketed. This is not generally how we do things. I'm not a fan of the sudden death rules, but apparently they've been in Magic for, like, ever. We just don't generally see them because usually the only single elimination rounds in a tournament are the top 8 rounds, and they're not timed. So matches go to their natural conclusion, first player to 2 wins, or in the case of the top 8 in Pro Tour, first player to 3 wins. It's a common misconception. Most people think that matches are straight up best 2 out of 3, but there can be exceptions to that because there are ways that you can force the game to end in a draw that aren't timed. Like, I have a feeling there's got to be a way to do it with Expansion Explosion. Like, deck yourself at the same time you deal your opponent lethal damage. I'm pretty sure that is a draw. But I'm not positive. I'd have to actually, like, sit down and read Expansion Explosion to see if it finishes one effect before the other. So there are ways to force games to end and draw. Also, if you and your opponent have both mulliganed to 3 cards and you're like, this is going to be an incredibly painful game, what you can do is mark that game as a draw and move on to another one and shuffle up and redraw 7. But you do have to mark the draw on your slip. So, yeah, it's match isn't necessarily a max of 3 games or 5 games, depending on which it's the best of. It is how many games it takes to declare one player the winner in the time allotted. But again, top 8 rounds are usually single elimination, but they're not timed, so they're allowed to go to their natural conclusion, whereas I didn't think these rounds would be timed. I was kind of surprised to see that they were. And it's a 45-minute clock, which, I mean, shaving 5 minutes off for the lack of shuffling that happens seems like more than fair. Because you figure in a typical match of Magic, there's a fair amount of shuffling. Especially if you do things like Mastermind's acquisition on your deck as opposed to outside of the game. You gotta shuffle the deck when you resolve that. There's not, aside from Evolving Wilds, there's no, like, land fetch. Trying to think of anything else that lets you tutor out of your deck. And I don't really think there is. I guess Growth Chamber Guardian, if you're playing Legion Conquistadors. But in any case, so there's not a whole lot of extra shuffling in this format. But resolving mulligans and everything else, like, they're instantaneous now. After you've decided to mulligan, you're like, okay, mulligan this trash, and bam, your new hand's there. You don't have to put it back, shuffle, draw again. So shaving 5 minutes off the clock when you take out all that time for shuffling, you probably shave a little more off and still be fair as far as actual gameplay time. But focus. Having to see yesterday I was actually home from work for reasons. Round 1, Jerry Thompson against Wyatt Darby. They go to time, and Jerry Thompson is declared the loser of the game, and they're of course in game 3 because he has a lower life total when he had very clear board advantage. That if they would have gotten the typical 5 extra turns you get at the end of the round, Jerry would have locked that up. No question. Don't try to go around me, dickhead. So that was a little rough to watch, especially because of all players. It was Jerry Thompson, who is a fan favorite because he is just a wonderful human being. So that was definitely a bit rough. But again, I have to assume that the competitors were made aware of the rules before they started. So, yeah, it's like seeing somebody go down in turns or, get stuck taking a draw when if they had one more turn, they could win it. The clock is always just such an awful way to end a round. But, it happens. Is what it is. Let's not likely to be on the road too terribly much longer. Let's talk about sub-only chat for a minute. So, the stream chat for the coverage did not start out sub-only. Let's try to put the back window down a little bit. It was open chat. No, I don't like that. But, people were, of course, making disparaging comments because there are actually a lot of women involved in this tournament. And so they went to sub-only chat, and this upset people. Unfortunately, I feel like sub-only chat is the only real answer to the vitriol. I know it's not the popular option, but especially considering this tournament got up to 80,000 concurrent viewers. That's a lot of chat to manage for the moderators. Like, I don't think you can really reasonably expect that the mods can keep up with the chat generated from 80,000 active viewers. Now, I think that's where it peaked, but every time I glanced at the numbers, we were looking at over 20,000. That is a lot of people to be throwing crap into the chat. So they ended up going in sub-only mode, and I'm not sub to Wizards because, again, I don't actually watch much of their coverage. So it would be a waste of $5. But even not being able to participate in the chat, not being willing to give them $5, it didn't really bother me. As far as people saying, well, it makes the chat seem empty, I don't know. It seemed to be scrolling by just fine for me. Like, okay, alright. Well, you, like, slammed on your gas like you really, really wanted to be in front of me, so... I really need to redo this ramp so it corresponds with the light down there. Anyway, yeah, that's just a lot of people to be, you know, spewing words into the void there, protected by their cloak of anonymity, and be creating throwaway accounts to continue to get to say nasty things, because they will, because for some reason these people have nothing better to do with their lives. Anyway, all that aside, yeah, I think sub-only chat's fine. I am not an opponent of that, because, you know, they need to come up with some kind of answer. And that seems to be the most efficient and seems to be relatively effective. Brian Kibler got himself timed out of the chat for some all caps dinos. Rawr. I am also wondering if the reason we saw so many women do so well in this tournament might be because Arena gave them a place to play and hone their skills that didn't require them going to an LGS. My LGS is great, and this is why for a very long time I was on the wrong side of this issue, because I just wasn't seeing it. And I've come to realize that's because my community just, you know, isn't awful. Wow, that place always has weird crap sitting out there. Whereas the treatment of women at LGSs does seem to be somewhat of a problem we have. And unfortunately, there is somewhat little WotC can do to have any control over that, because you don't require a judge to run F&M. And it's kind of hazy how you would report this, you know, bad behavior and everything. So maybe we do need a reporting system, but the problem is I don't want to see just a blanket reporting system. It's like, oh, you get 3 negative reports, your contracts with the WPN is terminated. Because that does open the door for, you know, oh, I don't like this store, and I'm going to open my own store, and, you know, I've got to do something to get business, so I'm going to, you know, have my players go. Oh, that's your muscle car. Okay. It's like, why is my car making that noise? Maybe she is doing something funny. I think there needs to be a metric for investigation and everything if they're going to go to that route. But I got to go. I'm in the parking lot at daycare to pick up my kids. So, as always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'll talk to you all on Monday.